Hey you guys, it's Michelle Gifford from the course The Graduate, and I'm here to talk to you about the 5 tips of shooting outside of the golden hour. So, we've been taught since one of our first lessons in photography that you shoot your sessions 2 hours after sunrise and 2 hours before sunset, right? Well, that is fantastic, and I really do try to get most of my sessions done during those hours, but sometimes it just doesn't fit. So we're going to talk about some things that you can do to make your session work even if it isn't during the golden hour. So I'm going to go through this session with you of this pretty girl and show you what I did. So she wanted to do a session in a nursery, like a plant nursery. And the nursery that's by our house that I love it closes at 4 o'clock. And so we have to start shooting at 3. It's summertime, so it starts getting dark at 7 or 8. So we are 4 or 5 hours before the sun sets. So this is not ideal, but we got some really stunning pictures and I'm going to show you how. All right, tip number 1 is find open shade. Now this is an obvious one and it's what we've learned for a really long time. But open shade is when you have complete shade over your subject so that there are no spots. What I did to work around that with this one, because there are a couple spots on her hat, but if you notice, I use her hat to shade her face. And so you can do that. You need to find places that have shade. And if it's not high noon, then there will always be places with shade. All right, so let's move on to number 2. Get rid of the spots. So we talked about how one way is to have a hat and get rid of the spots. But for this picture, if you notice, she has spots on her legs, right? But she has no spots on her face. When she was standing directly facing me, she had spots all over her face, sunlight spots. And so what I did is I had her turn, and then I would have her turn her head a little bit at a time until she had no spots on her face. And so, so just keep turning them until the spots are gone. Okay, tip number 3. Go black and white. So if you look at this picture, I just said, you know what? We're going to just be happy with the light, and her face is not evenly lit. And why this works with this picture is because it sets a mood. I took this picture knowing that I would want it black and white. It's very, as she and her mom put it, very Vogue, right? It's a magazine picture, and it evokes a mood. There are some elements in this picture. It has a lot of contrasts in the black and white, and it's very moody, and that's why it fits black and white. And turning your pictures black and white can save some pictures, but please don't just turn everything black and white, because that it won't accomplish what you want it to do. This works because of the mood, and it was very on purpose. So remember that when you are trying to choose black and white to see if it'll save your picture. Embrace the light. All right, so she is in full light, right? One of the things that I make sure I do is I shoot with the sun behind me. Otherwise, they have a hard time looking towards the sun, right? They get really squinty-eyed. And so I shoot with the sun behind me, and there are some things that I give up when I do that. For example, the sky is completely blown out, but it works. This is one of her favorite pictures as well. And so when you're shooting at this time, you do have to accept some of those things. I'm not a fake sky person where you put in a fake sky. I just don't do that. So so we just embrace the light. If I were doing a more close-up picture of this shot, I would use my reflector and use the reflector to bounce the light back onto her face so it was lit up more. But sometimes you just have to embrace the light and make it work. Tip number 5, get creative. All right, so this shot is just on the side of the road, on the outside of the nursery. It was past 4, so the nursery was closing, and it's just in the dirt off the side of the road. And it was one of our girls' favorite shots because it's creative. We created a mood, we created an emotion, and even though her mom thought I was a little bit crazy for setting up a pose here, it ended up being one of her favorite shots. So there are always going to be places that have a little bit of shade if you're shooting past high noon or before noon, you're going to have patches of shade everywhere. So just get creative, and you'll be able to find really unusual, but really great shots. So those are my 5 tips for getting great shots during before golden hour, and I hope they really helped, because I think that we can get stuck in thinking that we can only shoot at this time, and while that's ideal, sometimes it doesn't work. So happy shooting, and please leave a comment below and let me know what you learned. And also, the graduate is now open for enrollment, so go get on the list. I'd love to see you in class. Thanks. Bye.